you. So, I'm a little sad tonight. If you're on the MTP forum, which is an interesting place to be, but if you ever decide that you want a headache, I'd suggest perusing the forum, checking it out. What's really disappointing to me is how easy it is to write off LGBTQ lives. How easy it is to say, yes, but not now, when it comes for justice for my community. And what first got me involved in politics was fighting for justice for LGBTQ lives, right? So in high school, I founded a nonprofit called the LGBT Community Coalition of Michigan. I was really proud of it. We put on a Pride Prom 2 years in a row so that folks could enjoy and have a prom experience regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. So they could go to a place and not feel threatened, not feel like they had to hide who they were, who they are, just to get by. And that was in high school. And then fast forward a few years, I got more involved with the Democratic Party, and I went to the Democratic Convention in 2016. I think it was 2016, right? 2017? Yeah, 2017. The years blend. But and I spoke to Senator Debbie Stabenow, and I asked her, when we had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic President, why didn't we get the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which would prevent you from being fired for your job for being LGBT? And her response was, well, there were just other priorities. And that really struck a chord with me, that there are always just other priorities, whether it's LGBT issues, issues for African Americans, issues for immigrants, issues for the Hispanic community. There will always be other priorities so long as we let them have other priorities. And I, for one, decided enough is enough. I'm just going to run for office myself. And so I'm running in a district that is, quote unquote, heavily Republican, because Democrats haven't campaigned there in over a generation. They get a sacrificial lamb every year, God bless them, and they run the person, they fundraise no money, and they knock no doors, and they have no campaign events, and then they say, well, it's a Republican district. I mean, just look at the numbers, right? But the problem is, if you really looked at the numbers, if you looked at the lives of the people that live in that district, it is not a Republican district. It is not a district for millionaires and billionaires. It is a working class, African American, Hispanic, and LGBTQ district. That is the people who live there. And it is insulting to me that the Democratic Party would write off their lives and their experiences because it's politically expedient to do so. Because it's harder work to campaign in that district than it is to write it off. And this is something they do not just in the 77th, but across the state of Michigan, and they throw their hands up and say, what can we do? We have a Republican House. It's gerrymandered, right? Except for the fact that my district is not gerrymandered. It is geographically contiguous. It makes sense. It's two communities. Two. And if you can't compete with two communities that are heavily Hispanic, heavily African American, and heavily LGBT, then you have no business being a political party in the state of Michigan. I get a little riled about this stuff, a little bit, but that's because these are issues that affect my life. I've been fired from my job. I've been denied a doctor in my community in Wyoming who said, I'm sorry, we don't treat members of your community at this clinic, it's family practice, right? And there is virtually nothing that I can do to rectify that situation. So if the doctors in my community decide they just don't want to treat members of my community because they're a family practice or because it goes against their religious beliefs to touch an LGBTQ person, I have no recourse. I can't receive medical attention in the state of Michigan because there is no law that protects that right for me. I have a problem with that. And I think a lot of people in this room have a problem with that too. And that's why I'm so committed to fighting the fight in the 77th. It's not going to be easy, but it's winnable. And we have to win in districts like the 77th if we're ever going to win majorities in the state of Michigan ever again for our communities, for our values. And my hope is that with all of your support tonight and all of your support for other candidates running across the state of Michigan and across this country, our hope is that 2018 will be a very different kind of year from 2016, where love will win, not hate, where justice will prevail, not injustice. Thank you.